Hey, B3rd Athletics, Coach Field here, and I'm excited to have a great conversation today with Drew Vilinsky. I'm going to let him introduce himself because he's run the gamut in both theology and sport as a coach, a theology teacher at a Catholic high school in Cleveland, Ohio. And Drew and I met actually at the Global Congress of Sport that was hosted last year on Baylor's campus. And we've stayed connected here and there, but we both share a passion for faith and sport integration. And I'm excited today to learn about all of the amazing things that he's doing. I know that I'm going to learn some. Hopefully you learn some. And I'm also excited to head up his way for a conference coming up in October. So maybe we'll give him an opportunity to talk about that as well. So Drew, if you don't mind, introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you. How did you get involved in sport? What did sport mean to you growing up? And then kind of, I guess, give us a quick recap of, how you got to the point where you're at today.
All right. Well, thanks for having me, Tanner. I appreciate it greatly. And it's fun to think we just, a mutual friend introduced us at a conference, and now here we are a year later talking. So this is great. I think I was like a lot of kids in the 80s where my parents opened up the door and said all right, we'll see you later. So went and played wiffle ball, football, swam in my buddy's pool all summer long. And in the winter, it was hockey, basketball, wrestling. So sports was just the air that we breathed, right? And then getting to high school, while I loved I loved baseball, I was best at hockey. So I played that in high school and in college. And it wasn't just playing, but watching. So everything from college football to, I don't know, the WNBA, even. I was watching everything that was there. And as I got through college, got my master's degree, and came back to my high school to teach and to coach, I started to ask the deeper question of why. When I was a kid, I wanted to win for hockey. Everything was developed around the state championship. And at my high school, too, we're not in the league. And so for us, the whole school would get motivated when the team was up to win states. And we were lucky enough to win a number of them. I think in 2005, Sports Illustrated rated us the 18th best sports high school in the country.
Wow.
Yeah, it was pretty great. It was heady. And the academics of the school were beyond par. And the Catholic faith of the school was just, again, part of the air that you breathed. So we had this thing that we were really good at, a bunch of things that we were good at. And we were the best sports school in Ohio. But it wasn't the dominant narrative of the school. The dominant narrative of the school was excellence. So wherever you were. So I come back to teach, and I started asking those deeper questions of why. We have this huge sports infrastructure. We had 16 varsity sports. To what end are we doing this?
Right.
And I knew that, we're supposed to build character. We're supposed to invite guys into the faith. And we had some incredible men like Mike McLaughlin and Chuck Kyle, who are known nationally for what they've done. Mickey is a soccer coach. The soccer team is, at this point, I think they've won 14 state championships. They've been named national champions 8 times. Coach Kyle, our football team, came to prominence in the late 80s, and they've won, I think, 11 state championships and been named national champions by USA Today or somebody 4 times. Those guys teach faith through the sport. But I was starting to ask the question of what happens when Chico retires? That's the football coach, Chuck Kyle. What do we do when Mike McLaughlin moves on? Because those guys are going to keep on getting invitations to go to other places. And I was looking at myself as a hockey coach wondering, where's the greater lesson? Sure, we want to win states. And truth be told, we can help guys move on to the next level. But the deeper stuff, the character formation, the invitation to faith, I was deeply interested in how am I doing that in a routine way, in a standardized way that can live beyond me, so that when I step aside from coaching hockey here at the school, the next hockey coach or the next coach for the golf team or the next coach for our baseball team can say, yeah, here's what we do to build faith on the field or through wrestling or through soccer. So that's a little bit of what I was doing. And that comes naturally as a theology teacher, right? That introspection and that deeper question. I think, Tanner, it's a little bit like your story where you started to ask, hey, if I want my kids to have good people to marry, how can I start to form those guys through through the way that I'm coaching right now. Like, what
Mhm.
does it look like to take that question seriously?
Yeah. Amen. I have a curious question. I mean, how often do you run across people who decided to go and study theology who are also uber passionate about sport? Do you find that to be common, or do you find yourself to be kind of a needle in a haystack?
Yeah. Well, I got you.
But I didn't study theology until I became an adult and became really passionate about my faith. I mean, you correct me if I'm wrong. I mean, your academic background is also faith driven. It's theology, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So my master's degree is in theology, from Notre Dame. But like my high school, I'm not a unicorn in my high school.
Mhm.
We'll put it that way. So that soccer coach I was talking about, Mike McLaughlin, he teaches in our theology department. There's another soccer coach that teaches in our theology department, Jim Brennan. And those guys are off the charts, wicked smart.
Mhm.
Coach Kyle, our football coach, or a former football coach, he's an English teacher. So think of that model of like scholar, teacher, and coach. Like that's what my high school subsisted on. Our hockey coach, our head hockey coach, fellow by the name of Pat O'Rourke, is a Latin scholar. That's
Mhm.
what he has his master's in. He started as a Latin teacher at our school. Now he's the admissions director. So, like at our place, to be deeply invested in an academic field and to know sports well and to be able to lead young men, it's an all guys high school. To be able to lead young men, those go hand in glove.
Mm.
That was part of the great thing about the conference to which we went. It was to run into other people who were as passionate about the theology and the sport. That one wasn't ancillary to the other, but it's
Mhm.
that great Catholic both and.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, it's probably fair to say at St. Ignatius, y'all would see sport as co-curricular, not extra.
Absolutely, yeah, that's a great way to say it. And the our school has really pushed its chips in on that. I think there are some places that will articulate, they'll say like, all right, we're going to teach character through sport and all that. But when you really get down to it and you say like, how, where in a way that's outside of one individual, how have you institutionalized that? They don't have many answers. But at our school, once I started to ask these questions, I found a program at Xavier University in Cincinnati. What is it? It's a master's degree in athlete development and coaching education.
Mhm.
And my school paid for me carte blanche to get that master's. And I developed and built my thesis around this chaplaincy program that I was building. Like, how do we leverage sports as an inlet to faith, as an invitation to come to know Christ more deeply? Um, so our school pushed a bunch of chips in there, and now like we have, I think it's 29 chaplains operating on campus with that's 26 different people that are doing the work, and it's the lay teachers
Mhm.
and staff at our school are the chaplains for our teams. And we're what 11 years old now doing this. We're the largest chaplaincy program in the country, and truth be told, from the research that I've done globally, and it's great. Like our school, there's a lot of support economic that has to happen there. They have
Mhm.
to set aside people to do that work, because to say yes to be a chaplain for a team is for that person to say no to do something else that
Mhm.
could help advance the mission of the school. So I'm blessed enough to work in an environment where the school sees the formation that happens here outside of the classroom as uh, equally important as that which happens in the classroom. And
Mhm.
quickly, Tanner, just an idea of this: like you're a basketball guy, I'm a hockey guy. I would wake up at 4 in the morning to go practice hockey. Like
Hmm.
I routinely did that. I would stay up deep into the night to play if there were ice available. And like when there was a pond outside, I'd do that. I was not doing that to go
Mhm.
study algebra. Like
Yeah.
that was not geometry wasn't moving me that way. And I know that there are some people who are, but that matters insofar as if you can catch and find where a young boy, a young girl's heart is,
Mhm.
and if you can then show them where the grace of God is in that, and how God is speaking to them in that, then oh man, the chance for accompaniment and evangelization, those two things, it goes through the roof. So at our school, we see those and putting all the resources into that as vitally important.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think you segued us very well, because I'm really interested to hear the evolution of this chaplaincy program. And I don't even know where to start my questions. I mean, my head is just spinning because to think that you have 29 chaplains on your campus. Remind me of the size of your high school again. How many students?
Yeah, that's fair. So we're 1,500 lads, usually a little bit below.
Okay.
So 1,500 lads. It's an all guys Catholic school that's existed in the near west side of Cleveland since 1886, and it forever has had this deep reputation of academic excellence. It's a Jesuit school, so academic excellence, but also whatever the school dives into, be it athletics, or we have this really robust service component of the school. So faith, service, athletics, academics, that's been part of the school's history for a long time. I've been part of it. I've been lucky enough to be part of the school. If you include being a student, I think now for 28 years. So I've got
Wow.
a decent bit of institutional memory. But yeah, so we're a big place. And if you look at that, if you break down the numbers, so we got 1,500 lads. If you break down the numbers, 1,000 of them play a sport at the school or for the school.
Wow.
And then because of the way that we've built our chaplaincy program, it's not just athletics. It's also the performing arts, right? Any place where a kid can find identity,
Mhm.
community, and purpose. We want to make sure that we have somebody there inviting them to come to know Christ. So if you add in the arts, it's around 1,250 out of the 1,500 kids. So that's a really high percentage of fellows that we're touching with respect to the co-curriculars and this
Mhm.
invitation. So yeah, it's a big school. It's a large campus. It used to be, if you're familiar with John Carroll University up in Cleveland, the Jesuit
Yeah.
school there.
Yeah.
The high school and the college were concomitant until 1931, and then they split apart. So we're in the old place where the college was, which makes it great. We have like a college campus in the middle of the city.
Well, tell us, what does it take to become a chaplain there? Like, I'm new to the school. I'm teaching a subject. I hear about this program. What are my qualifications in order to join this program? And we'll start with that, and then we'll get to like resources and training and things that you provide them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like your question is one that I've been lucky enough to get from other places over these last, truth be told, this is our 11th year, or maybe we're going into our 12th. I should start saying it that way. For around 8 years, folks have been calling up and asking, like, "Hey, how do you do this? What does this look like?" So, like Boston College High School, Georgetown Prep, Jesuit down in Dallas, Creighton Prep in Omaha, Santa Margarita in California. They all have different models based off of what we're doing that are in like year 5 or year 4, year 6, which is pretty great. Because you get a bunch of practitioners, then man, you can really start to go when you get a bunch more reps doing the thing. So back to your original question, uh, people get invited to be chaplains, and I'm the one who does the inviting as the director of it. And what I'm looking for is I'm looking for people who are exhibiting given traits in their interactions with the students and the school writ large. So, number one, can you relate to kids?
Mm.
It's not so much knowing a sport, but rather, do kids see you as authentic and is invested in them? So, that is something that somebody's got to have. Number two, you have to have a faith life. You can't give what you don't have.
Mhm.
So, do you have a faith life that you're living out? And it's not a litmus test, but it matters in this Catholic context. Like, are you part of a parish? Are you going to mass? Are you engaging with the scriptures? Do you have a prayer life of your own? Now, like that will come when I am talking to somebody, but you can also see, like, if I'm going to daily mass and I see people in the pews, right? Or if I duck into, we're lucky enough to have Eucharistic adoration every Friday with confessions. And I jump in there and I see a new faculty member or some folks there, right? So connect with students, have a faith life of your own, but then you also have to be able to speak about that faith life. There are some folks like my mother. She's incredible. Her faith. I'm lucky enough to have a faith because of my mom and my dad. Right.
Sure.
My mom, she couldn't tell you a thing about it.
Huh.
She just knows what she does. She does it deeply and immensely well. Well, that's great. But part of it being a chaplain uh, is to be able to stand and deliver, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is to be able to, you have to be able to speak this out. Now, luckily, at a high school, you got a bunch of people who are teachers. So you're going to run into that more often than not. Um, Another part is, and we found this through trial and error, is you have to be able to relate to the coach or the director.
Mm.
If that relationship's not right, if if the coach doesn't respect or connect with the chaplain or vice versa, it's not going to land. Just think of like when you're filling out your basketball staff, you've got to have people that you want to be around and that
Mm-hmm.
you want around your kids, right? Um, so there's that feel. And then the last one, it's not even the most important, but you got to be able to willing to learn what the group does. So if it's hockey, you got to be willing to learn hockey. Our first chaplain is an incredible guy. His name is Jim Brennan. He's amazing, and our school holds him up, rightfully so, as one of our best. Um, Jimmy was the first chaplain of a hockey team, and he doesn't know the sport. Didn't know the sport. He's been doing this for 11 years. He's been learning the sport because, like, if the kids love it, then Jimmy loves it, right? Because he loves them.
Yeah, sure.
So you got to be able to do that. And I would argue there's one more thing. Like a fit matters. The culture of our rugby team is different than the culture of our Harlequins. It's different than the culture of our volleyball team. It's different than the culture of our choir. And so that person has to be able to go into that room, into the locker room, onto that stage, and be seen as authentic by the kids. And so I've got to make sure that the individual that I'm tapping, that fit is all right there. And sometimes I mess it up something fierce. It's never the chaplain's fault. It's always mine.
Sure.
When I get that mix off. For example, our principal right now, Dr. Anthony Fiore, like he's a great guy. He played soccer in high school, deeply in love with the game. I had first thought he would work with what was it? Our rugby team. And that didn't click. Not Anthony's fault, mine. And then I thought our crew, and that didn't work. Not Anthony's fault, mine. But I kept on swinging back because Anthony is this man of deep faith. He was a theology teacher. And now in his role as a principal, there's something great about him being in this in contact with kids this way. He's the chaplain for our freshman football team now, and they're going to get started up in a little bit of time here. And that means like Anthony has got 2 weeks before school starts, he's got all this time with around 115, 120 of our incoming freshman class. And he's supposed to just be with them. And then he gets to talk about and invite them to think about and reflect on the most important aspects of our school. Like that's a home run, right? I should have thought of it earlier. So I'd say those 6 things. That's what I'm looking for in a chaplain. And then like if I see that stuff out in the community, I'll go talk to a person, kind of tee them up, see what they're thinking. And I'm always trying to fit need with availability.
Do y'all offer a stipend for this position, or is it completely voluntary?
Yeah, we offer a stipend, and here's why. One of my great friends in life, Jimmy Skrull, of happy memory, he created we have an outreach and accompaniment with men and women who are affected by homelessness, where every single Sunday, and I've been at school for 23 years. So for 24 years, every single Sunday, our lads go out in vans in the city of Cleveland, and they go over railroad tracks and under bridges. And we bring meals that are seasonally appropriate. So if it's cold, we're bringing hot food. And if it's hot, we're bringing colder stuff to folks who are out of homes. And like the food is an excuse for accompaniment, for talking to folks. We write down their stories. If they say they're looking for batteries, we come back next week with batteries, or they need books and all that. It's beautiful. So Jimmy created that. We have a pallbearer society that buries the dead. So there are folks who don't have somebody to attend their funeral, don't have someone to put their casket in the ground. Jimmy created that. So we have guys that the funeral homes will call us, and we'll do around 300 funerals a year. No, that's not right. Maybe it's 400 funerals a year. It's more than one a day. Jimmy created that. He looked at the corporal works of mercy, and we have service and organizations that go along for each one of those. I'm being a little long-winded now, so my apologies. But Jimmy knew, like, all of this takes a lot of work. And Jimmy was the one who started them, if he wanted them to continue when he was gone, whether he left the school or whether he passed, and that jerk up and died, a way to continue that would be to make it a line item. So if you get it into the budget, then people say, hey, we've got this money. Who's going to do this thing?
Right.
If you don't do that, then it becomes, well, Jim had this great pet project. That'd be wonderful. Is there anybody who's willing to do it? And in my research of creating chaplaincy programs and looking at how schools integrate faith and sports, what I found is most schools have a coach or somebody at the school who's really interested in the integration of the two. Maybe they have a member of the clergy or a nun who is really invested, and they pour all their resources and time into it. But the second that person leaves, then it goes away. So based on Jimmy's advice, and he helped me a lot as I was thinking through this, ours are all paid positions. And my charge, or the school's charge to me, was build it slowly. So while we're at 29 chaplaincies now, that's what I said earlier, I think, with 26 people or 25, it started with one guy. And then the next year, it was two guys running a couple, 3 teams. And so I gradually built it, which allowed the school to look at its budget and say, like, all right, this many this year, this many next year. And over those 11 years, we built it up to where it currently exists. Plus, like, I was, what's the word I want? Very particular about gathering data from the students. So at the end of the year, our kids fill out forms that ask them, like, hey, should we keep on doing this? Yes or no? Is this valuable for your faith life? Give us a story about this, where it was worthwhile or where it wasn't. Because it can't just exist in the realm of good ideas. If I'm making the argument that this is accompanying students and inviting them to come to know Christ, well, then we've got to ask them, do you feel accompanied? Is this leading to your practice of the faith outside of the wrestling room, outside of the rugby pitch, outside of the choir room, right? And I believe that data, to be able to hand it on to administrators and to key stakeholders at our school, was really helpful for them to be able to say, well, like, look, we had I think I had 1,000 kids who were asked that question: should we continue with this chaplaincy program next year, over the course of 8 years or something along those lines? And I gave them a range of 5 answers. The first being absolutely, this is great, and the last one being no, it's a waste of time. And something like 76% of kids said absolutely, this is great. Then 22% said, yeah, this is good, keep on doing it. I think like 3% of kids, if I'm getting the math right, were like the indifferent one. Only 1 kid said, no, this is a waste of time, out of 1,000 kids. Like, we're doing something right there.
Sure.
And that helped the school then continue to push in chips to fund this work, to set aside people's time. And that's part of the reason why the school's going to hold the conference too, is because it sees the value in it and wants that work to grow.
Do you think a lot of schools are scared to ask those questions?
Yeah, I mean, that's great. That's a great way to look at it. I can't speak to other places because this is the one I've been at, right? But in talking to other folks, Tanner, I think it's a change in mindset. And change in mindsets, that can be tough. And it's also that change in mindset comes then with actions. So here, what you're asking with B3rd, like, it's incredible to take time out of every practice. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to reflect on this virtue, and we're going to take some time. Like, that's a change in mindset. And so many coaches, because they're going to coach the way that they were coached, right? they're thinking like, no, I've got like this amount of time, and I've got to get. If we don't know how to break a 1-3-1 press like in this amount of time, so it's that change in mindset that can be a little frightening, and it's something new. So I think that may frighten people, and you gotta, I would contend, get to their imaginations and show them what could be, that it's worth taking the risk. And we could get a bunch of data points and all that to show it's valuable, but it's worth taking the risk for what you really could do. Here, do you mind if I tell a quick story? Is that okay, Tanner?
Fire away. Stories are great.
All right, here you go. So it's I had this idea, and I'd been at the school, and it's my alma mater, and I'd been there for a while. At that point, I think it would have been something like 13 years. So I wanted to see what it looked like as a coach, being the head coach of a team, having the chaplain, because that's where I figured one of the bottlenecks would be. Coaches would say no. So I did that, and the chaplain was great on our hockey team and all that. Loved it. I wanted to do it for baseball, and I wanted to be the chaplain to see what that experience looked like. And so I went and asked the baseball coach, and I had coached for him at the freshman and JV levels. And I asked him, hey, can we do this? Would it be all right if I did this with your team next year? And he said no. I was God, like, I really thought I had the capital. And he said, no, you can't do it next year. You got to do it this year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, right. Like, he was thinking, like, he knew his team, our school. I'm so lucky. People are such professional, makes it sound plastic and buttoned up. Like, they're so good at what they do. And Brad knew his guys so deeply well. He said, if it will ever work, it will work with this group of kids. You got to do it this year. So we're doing all the stuff that it entails, and I'm trying to read off of kids and all that. Fast forward to the end of the season, and we're playing our big rival school, St. Edward, and they're incredible, and they're impressive in a bunch of athletics and all that. We're playing them in baseball in the Sweet 16. And our number one pitcher is going to go on to play D1 college, MJ Nera, he's on the bump, and he throws 5 2/3 of beautiful one-run baseball for high school ball, right? And high school ball only goes 7 innings, so MJ has done a great job. And we end up winning by a run. And afterward, our guys are all celebrating. MJ comes off the bench, goes to the mound to be with his brothers, his buddies, and the reporter for Cleveland's paper, the Plain Dealer, comes up to MJ, and he sticks the microphone in MJ's face. Got a camera on and said, like, hey, you just beat your rival in the Sweet 16. How does that feel? And MJ doesn't miss a beat, says, well, we actually don't play because we hate the guys in front of us. We play because we love the guys behind us. Right? Like, he's quoting G.K. Chesterton, which we had talked about like 2 days beforehand. Brad asked me to give a chapel talk on, like, all right, just take into account the game and what this is going to be. And I thought, like, the season's been built on love, to will the good of the other. That's what we're attempting to do here. So in that moment, for MJ's knee-jerk response to be that, like, oh, there's some juice about this. There's something good here. And then later on, I called up MJ. I polled the guys, and I spoke to MJ later. It was in the summer. Actually, it was the beginning of the next year or toward the middle of it, because MJ's already at college. And he said, hey, I wanted to let you know, I thought your stuff was a waste of time when it started. I'm like, all right. Yeah, all right. Well, thanks, MJ. I really appreciate it. And he said, like, I thought we could have been doing something to help us with the game and all that. And then he said, but guys need to know now, this is the most important thing. Like, it's our faith integrated into what we're doing. And then he paused and he goes, you need to know I'm going back to church. Like immediately, like, in my head, I was like, a quick prayer, like, thank you, Lord. And thank you, MJ, for being open to it. Right. So it's looking for responses from kids like that, and sharing MJ's story with the people around the school, with coaches, with our administrators, even with parents and with kids, that helps them baptize their imagination so that they're more willing to take a chance on this, right?
Mm,
So that they're more willing to cede a little bit of time and to invite a different voice into the room. Because I understand that's a challenge, but like this is what this exists for. Like the reason why Catholic schools, why Christian schools host all of these things is
mm.
supposed to be to invite guys and girls to come to know Christ. And so here's a way that we're finding does that and does that immensely well.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't we try it?
I got a question about, so we talked about what does it take? What are you looking for in a chaplain?
Hmm.
And then this dynamic between the coach and the chaplain that's leading the programs. So I kind of have a couple questions. I mean, first of all, do y'all require this in all of your athletic programs at this point? Not necessarily in the beginning, but now at the school, are you required as a head coach to have this position inside your locker room?
Here's the way we think about it. If a coach says no to it, that's a red flag.
Sure.
So it's not so much that they're required, but if a guy says no, then the immediate follow-up question is like, okay, what are you doing that will accomplish these ends? How
Mm,
are you inviting kids to know Christ? And it is foundational that you're going to pray before practicing games.
sure.
Like it's foundational that you're doing that stuff. If you weren't doing that stuff, there's a second red flag.
Sure.
So nobody has to, but if a guy says no, then there'd be an issue. Now, here's the thing: nobody's ever said no.
Yeah.
Our school culture, the men and women who have run St. Ignatius, the way I refer to our school is a place where the Holy Spirit flows freely.
Mm,
And we're lucky and blessed. So the decisions folks have made, the culture that's been created around the place, even when we go astray, and we do, just like any institution, man, they're perpetually, I believe, thinking of what is best for the kids uh, to come to know Him.
mhm.
How do we accomplish that end? So, no coach has ever said no. And in fact, what I found is, and this isn't just me, it's at the other schools that I had alluded to that are starting these programs, they're starting to run off of the model that we've built with tweaks to their own particular charism. You find coaches saying, like, hey, when can we get somebody?
Sure.
Hey, we would like, hey, like, you got one, we would like one of those. Can
Mhm.
we get? So it's the exact opposite, Tanner. And I attribute that to the work of the Holy Spirit, but also the great men and women who are the chaplains at the school.
Mhm.
Like what they end up doing is phenomenal.
So what kind of resources are you providing these chaplains? What kind of training, ongoing communication? I mean, are they just kind of, hey, thanks for being willing to do the work. Good luck out there. Come back to us if you have any questions. I mean, I'm sure at this point that's not the case, but
Yep.
what resources or training is available to these men and women who are willing to lead in this way on these teams?
Yeah, and now you're asking the question that other folks who have contacted me around the country are asking. So one of them is the structure that we have built in. Right when something starts, I meet with the chaplain and the head coach, and so we'll
Mhm.
have a meeting going through what this is and what this isn't. And so when you do that, you're setting expectations, which is a huge deal. Then outside of that, the chaplain is going to meet with me at the beginning of every season, and like golf tryouts start this week, so I've got to start. We got to start going. And the band is going to band camp this week, and so are they. We're lucky enough to have girls come in and they run the flag corps, and we're going to get a chaplain for our flag corps now. So I get to start doing this this week.
Right.
But we'll have a meeting where we go through, all right, here's what you did last year. Here's the stuff that the kids said. Here are the program's overarching goals. How do all those three things meet together? What are we going to do this year? The schools helped me and allowed me to buy books. Chaplains have found books, articles, resources. We've got all that labeled off of one of my great friends, Paul O'Connor, is a Jesuit priest, and Paul's the man. He taught me, he created a Word document for his homilies. whenever he's reading something, it's like, oh, it's a great quote. He's got this Word doc, right? That's got the quote and it's searchable by topic. So we have this 58-page document that has all these quotes, both secular and religious, that our chaplains can tie into, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. And then we meet as chaplains 3 times a year in the fall, the spring, and the winter, because there's something that happens when the group is together and people are bouncing and riffing ideas off of each other. And I organize that. And my job is to throw out scenarios like, okay, you've got a kid who's injured. Last year, we had a lad who was injured who came up to me, or no, he wasn't injured. His role on the football team changed. He went from being a starter to coming off the bench. And he said to me, I don't know who I am without football. Ooh, all right.
Identity problems.
Right. That's it. Right. Yeah. And like Dr. White, formerly at Baylor, now at BYU, has done a bunch of great work with that. Right. So I put that in front of the chaplains and they spent 15 minutes. All right. How would you dance with this? Well, of course, you'd meet with the kid and you'd listen to what he has to say. Like, of course. But then beyond that, what would you do? So we go through questions like that to try to get, in fact, more reps and to try to let the wisdom of the group jump up. And then at the end of every season, after we get data from the kids, I'll review that data with the chaplain, him or herself. So that's what some of the support looks like. And then in season, people will call, or like I'm at the school, I teach, so do a number of the chaplains, but they're also administrators. So I'll meet. Somebody will say like, hey, do you have 20 minutes here? And we'll go talk like, oh, cuts were particularly difficult. This is one of the things that happened. How would you go through it? So I do stuff like that with folks. That happens a la carte. Yeah. So my overarching goal is to create a community of practitioners with this, because when you got that community aspect, now you're not just doing your work alone. When you got somebody else to talk to and riff ideas on, that helps tremendously. And that in part is the reason why we're hosting this conference. It's to bring people from around not just our high school and not just the state of Ohio, but as it stands right now. And the last time I looked at our registration was last week, so the numbers may be a little bit off, but we have people coming from 14 different states, from 42 different institutions showing up in Cleveland. So it's to get a bunch of people talking about looking at the same things and seeing like, all right, how do we accompany kids in this space? How do we evangelize kids in this space? In general, and I keep on saying the same thing. I'm sorry, might have to edit it out. How do we invite them to know Christ? So, yeah. So that's the way the support works. It's really cool too. Like chaplains will like, they drop in like, hey, I read this article. Here you go to our group. All right. Like, oh, there's the video. Hey, have you heard about this? Like it's fantastic. And one of our goals is to have programs integrated. So like varsity volleyball has a chaplain, JVA volleyball has a chaplain, JVB volleyball has a chaplain. Well, those chaplains will work with each other. And what they end up doing and building, because they've got a automatic sounding board built in, like it's incredible when that happens.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's amazing. What about what does it look like from a head coaching perspective? You know, what makes this go really well? Because I think one of the struggles that I've seen on our campus, but in talking with other people who are trying to put these things in place, is obviously when a head coach is bought in, the entire locker room gets bought in, and what they emphasize is changed in people, whether it's the sport itself or some type of development of the human person that's in conjunction, like faith or a mentality change. But if the coach just brings in a chaplain, but doesn't engage with it, and maybe I'm going to outsource this, I can't see that going well. I mean, have you seen that? What would you coach people on that? I mean, I believe the coach, if they're going to have a chaplain, and it's not going to be them, because it can't always be, maybe that's not their charism. They need to be engaged in the process. So maybe speak to that a little bit if you've got some insight.
Man, Tanner, you're spot on. it's not, I bring in somebody, now I can wash my hands of it. But it is, I bring in somebody, and now this is part of our whole, and I've got a look in it. Here, think of a football coach. Every head coach in football should be able to run and be an OC, a DC, should be able to be a special teams coordinator, should be able to do all those things. But he or she is going to outsource it to somebody and have a say in it. The same thing with the chaplain. It's not, all right, I bring the person in and now I can be in absentia and then I'll come back in 20 minutes when this is done. But if we got this right, the chaplain is riffing off of what the head coach has said and what the head coach is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then the head coach is going to riff off of what the chaplain is doing and what the chaplain's saying. So that's why that relationship between those two matters. I view the chaplain, and our coaches view the chaplains as part of their staff. Pat O'Rourke, who's our hockey coach, and our hockey team, they're incredible. What Pat's done, I think they've won like 8 state championships in Ohio in the last X years. Like, it's amazing. He refers to Jimmy Brennan as part of the staff. Pat is present for every one of Jimmy's chapel talks. The stuff that Jimmy puts together, Pat is invested and involved in it. Now, a head coach can look at that and say, like, oh, that's just one more thing I got to do. No, it's not. It's one more thing that you've commissioned that somebody else is going to do deeply and well. And then you can jump in and you can leverage to the development of your team. So, you know that you've got to have a culture coach. You know you've got to have X, Y, and Z. Well, here's your guy or gal. That requires the head coach to communicate with them. No doubt about that. It requires the head coach to be there. No question about that. But you don't have to run it. You got somebody else who's doing that. So our football team's got a new head coach this year. And we've got a chaplain who's been doing it for 3 years, Dan Berdeska. And Dan, he said, like, hey, I'd like to do something where we bless the helmets. Never done anything like this. Could we do something before even practice begins? We bless the helmets, bring the whole team together. And I was thinking we could have the parents as part of it. And we could the head coach said, our head coach said, like, it's a great idea. Here's the date. Here's the time. Build it. Go. And now our chaplain, he's putting all of those things together with the coach's theme, with the coach's ideas, and the chaplain's got it and handle it. Now the head coach will be there. Coaching staff will be there.
Sure.
And if we do this right, what will happen is they're going to hear and see stuff that they're able to riff on. And so it'll get a little bit deeper. And then the chaplain, one of the jobs that they have is to be present and to notice what the coaches are saying, to communicate with the coaches and to see what is their view of the team and to articulate stuff from that view. So then we go a little bit deeper. It keeps on spiraling in terms of depth.
What is that commitment level by the chaplain? I mean, to be seen as part of a staff, and I was blessed. I think it was just the Holy Spirit. It worked in me going into year 2 at Woodlands Christian. And just so everybody's clear, I'm no longer the head basketball coach at Woodlands Christian. I work in girls. I'm over girls athletics and also over faith and sport integration. But obviously, one of my best friends is our head basketball coach. So I stay tight knit with that group. But instinctively, I decided to ask the Bible teacher to kind of come be our character coach in year 2. I felt like it was the piece that we were missing. All the while, B3rd and this whole philosophy around B3rd is starting to blossom within our program. And it's funny because Aaron fits the bill of everything you've talked about. You know, like, he wasn't a basketball guru, but he knew the faith. He had a strong faith. He was passionate about the young men. What our commitment to him was like, hey, do you need to be at every minute of every practice? No, but you got to be present enough to build a relationship with them, for them to trust you. So what does that dynamic really look like from your perspective?
Tanner, I think you're spot on. Like, you're discovering the same thing that we're discovering at different parts of the country, right? And I would contend that means that there's something true in this. So our contention is that, and it's subjective, the chaplain has to be present enough so that the kids view him or her as part of the team or the group. So at the end of the year, one of the questions that we ask in the survey is, was Jim Brennan present? Was Caitlin Lynch Huggins present? And then the kids got a range of 1 to 5 to be able to say yes or no. Now, in our contracts that we have, it says that the chaplains have to give one chapel talk a week, and they have to be present to the team or the group one time outside of that. So swing by a practice, go to a game, and they got to make a certain number of games when it's possible. So what we found is, number one, chaplains blow that out of the water.
Yeah.
Where we've set the bare minimum bar, and they're well above that because of their investment in the kids, because we found that this is deeply life-giving for the chaplains themselves, not just the kids. And like, if you think it's primarily for the kids, it's secondarily for the coaches. And we're finding it is hitting the chaplains in their hearts and souls too, which is incredible. So they end up wanting to be there much more than our bare minimum. And we're finding that the kids overwhelmingly say, yeah, they're there. And that's in part because our chaplains, they have access to the kids that only the coaches get. So in those pregnant moments before a game in the locker room, the chaplains should be in there, right?
Sure.
They should be at the end of the bench. Our chaplains, I'm lucky enough to be the chaplain for our rugby team and our rugby program. Man, what Dan Besnick and those guys have done is amazing. I'll swing by for 15 minutes of practice on my way home. And I'm going to hop on my bike and ride my 11 miles home. So I swing by and I'm wearing all my dorky biking gear and hear all these guys who are just big, tough as can be and all that. And I'm giving them fist bumps and talking to them a little bit. And just doing that a couple, 3 times a week. The guys invariably say, yeah, Mr. Vilinsky around. Yes, I could go to Mr. Vilinsky if I had a problem. Yes, Mr. Vilinsky is present. It's tough for me to get to games because they play all over God's green earth. They go on tour. This year they went to France. I think last year was at Argentina. The year before that was Japan. It's incredible what they do. But
do the boys at your school understand how good they have it?
Fish don't notice the water.
I mean, everything that you're saying, it's like somebody's got to write a book about St. Ignatius in Cleveland, Ohio, if it hasn't been done already. Maybe a documentary, a 30 for 30. I mean, and look, that's everybody's challenge. Is usually what we have in front of us, we take for granted. But man, right. I really hope and pray that the staff at your school and the kids at your school, and especially the parents, because I think that's a hard role as a parent, is you've got to vet where you're choosing to put your kid in the educational process and who's going to have an impact on their life. And then you have to freely kind of give them over to that influence. And that's a big decision as a parent. And man, it not that y'all are doing everything perfect. I'm not trying to paint that picture, but doing a lot of things really well, that I hope everybody's proud of in y'all's neck of the woods.
Well, thanks. I think so. I think for the most part, our guys really appreciate the place, and it gets thrown into drastic relief when they leave. And guys come back and they'll say, well, I missed X, I missed Y, I missed Z. It's like, my line is, I believe you missed the Holy Spirit flowing freely. I think this is a place where we lead with our faith, and that matters. That matters dramatically, not in a triumphalistic way, not in a way that says better than, but in a way that's unique, right? In a way that's good. So it's tremendous. Here, another story. Our lacrosse chaplain, he joins when our lacrosse program had a bunch of uncertainty. Over the course of 4 years, had 5 new head coaches. The lads had acted the fool a couple of times. They needed a sustaining hand. And so our lacrosse chaplain was part of that. And he's at a fundraiser. He had been doing it, I think, for 3 years. He's at a fundraiser and sitting at a picnic table one of the assistant coaches, who's a grad of the school, just like he is, pulls up next to him. His name's Pat Valletta. And he goes, Pat, I need to tell you something. Pat's like, all right, shoot. He goes, when you started this, thought it was a complete waste of time. Like, oh, there we go. Like there it is. And now he's an assistant coach, mind you. He doesn't have the decision on whether or not this goes. And then Pat said, he just looks down and he goes, it's the most important thing we do. Thanks. Slaps him in the back and then just walks away. So like, that's that tangential thing. Like the chaplain, his main or her main audience are the kids, but done well, you're going to catch coaches. You're going to catch parents. We have parents. Like I had crew parents hounding me to get a chaplain for the crew because I hadn't found one yet. And they had been fallow for a year and a half. And I've been trying, but I was getting emails. I was getting people telling me like, oh, wow, well, what about this person? What about this person? I think we're lucky enough to exist in a place where people, when you do something well, they see the value of it and they want to support it. And I'm convinced, based off of the other schools that have tried this model and have really given it a go, that's a universal thing. It's not just St. Ignatius High School, but rather it's something that can be done across the country and in other places too. I've got a friend who's getting this started in Spain. We're going to try to get this going up in Canada at some schools up there too. So yeah, I think it is a universal thing. It's a universal good, a universal form of ministry that will work.
Let me ask a quick question on term limits for chaplains in certain programs. Yeah. Does that exist? Do you think it's healthy for people to rotate programs, or is there a certain sweet spot like, ooh, I've found my groove with this head coach. I've found my groove in this locker room and the understanding of a sport. Do y'all have any term limits within the chaplaincy program at your school?
Wow, like that's a question that we could ask the U.S. Senate.
Well, we know we don't have it, and it's problematic, but go ahead.
Yeah, that's really good. No, truth be told, I hadn't thought of that. My thought is that people get better with repetition. People get better not just with repetition. That's not true. Repetition and reflection. Repetition and reflection allow for like advancement in that get 1 inch better, get 1 step better. And so we haven't capped anybody and said, all right, you can only serve for 5 years or 10 years. Also because really good people can be hard to find. At our school, you got people doing a million other things. And so if we get somebody who's devoted to a given team, a given space, it's my hope that we give them the resources and the experiences that want them to keep on coming back. Yeah. And we try to incentivize that, truth be told, with our payment structure. There's a bonus that kicks in if you're a chaplain for 5 years on a team, and then another bonus if you get 10 years and above into an infinity, you get a little bit more cash. So it's our hope that consistency leads to development. So we'd like people to stay. Yeah. But I could see the other side of your argument. Like, all right, you've done it for X amount of years. Let's see if you move on and go to another form of ministry or something else in the school with respect to faith and justice.
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's another form of ministry. I could just see at times where maybe certain individuals have run their course inside of a program, and it's like, hey, we don't want you to leave the chaplaincy program. We're just going to take you from men's basketball, and we're going to put you with, in our case, over at the Woodlands Christian Academy, we're going to put you with women's volleyball. And we're going to challenge you a little bit as a chaplain. We're going to get you out of your rhythm. And that's not necessary. I mean, I also agree with you. I mean, when you find somebody's fit and their fit is really good, it's like only an insane person would move them out of their fit. Right. So I'm not suggesting that. I'm just kind of curious, there definitely probably has to be the times when it's like, hey, you're a good chaplain, but you're just not a good fit here. Let's change you on a different team. Let's get you in a different flow, and maybe it works out better. We've seen that just with coaches. It's like, you were coaching on this side of our department in girls sports, and it just wasn't going well. But then all of a sudden, we put you as a same sport coach in a different gender, and boom, things are amazing, and it just fits better. So,
and that's one of the things that I found and that other schools have found too, is to have somebody who's thinking of those things, to have a head of the spear. So to have a director or somebody set aside, and that means to give them the time, to give them the
Mm-hmm.
resources to think those questions, to try to look at the overarching and the whole, that allows it to grow and be sustainable and to be solid, instead of all over the place. So yeah, you've given me something really good to think about. But that leads to that idea of you got to have somebody who's organizing all of this. And truth be told, if it's somebody who already exists, like, all right, you got an AD, and he or she's going to be the one running this, then you got to take something off of their plate so
Mm-hmm.
that they can give the due time that it would be to devote to do this and to do this well.
Yeah, the last thing you'd want to do with this very pivotal experience is not do it well and it kind of
Yep.
flounder a little bit. And I think that's why our campus moved to campus-wide B3rd Athletics, because it was choppy in programs. And I'm learning a ton today, because my head is just spinning. I can't wait for my AD to watch this conversation, because I do think we could be a little bit more intentional with assigning people. I know that Keith Wall at Valor Christian, he's going to do that this year. He's going to assign specific people within programs that it's not diminishing the role of the head coach. It's giving them another person, a companion, to say,
That's
hey,
right.
they're going to think in this capacity for you. Because several times in this conversation, you've said people have always come back and gone, this is the most important thing we do. And I think what they're experiencing, the core of what they're experiencing, is a soul-driven athletic department, or what I would call a soul-driven athlete. I mean, the athlete has multi-dimensional layers, but the depth of that person is the soul. And when we can speak to that, when we can coach that, it's transformational, and it changes things. And the experience all of a sudden becomes just magnified. I mean, yes, the weight room is important and it's really, really good. But my challenge to our coaches is we have to emphasize the spirituality as much as we do the physical. Otherwise, the physical is more important, and it can never be more important than putting God first. So
That's right.
Yeah.
One of the ways that we talk about it here, and I think I grabbed the exact language from Bishop Robert Barron, is Christ in the middle organizes everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not Christ in the middle to, therefore I can't do X, Y, and Z. Now, morally, sometimes, yeah, I can't do X, Y, and Z, but like, no, like we can be excellent athletically.
Yes.
We can be extraordinary athletically. We can strive for state championships, and we can strive to move guys, in our case, on to the next level. Like we can do that. If Christ's in the middle, we'll be able to do that appropriately and well, in a way that builds up our souls and allows us to flourish as human beings, right? If not, well, madness down that way lies. If not, that's when stuff starts to get wobbly and wonky, right? That's what I hear you saying. And so what is the chaplain? The chaplain is a way to help the head coach. Like, here's somebody to have those conversations with. Here's somebody who can be a sounding board for you. Here's somebody who can be a sounding board for your kids, to invite them into that space, to invite the team into that space, and truth be told, the school into that space, to think of, like, how are we doing this? To what end? What's our ultimate purpose? Now, I would contend, when we end up winning a state championship, and that's great, like we want to do that, now it has even more meaning. If we get a kid who goes on to the next level, now that has even more meaning. But if we don't win, there's still depth. If a kid, this is the end of his athletic journey, there's still a ton of depth. There's still value in these things, even apart and separate from those other things that, of course, we're going to reach for.
What you've trained them on, and this is our goal as well, what you've trained them on is that process of excellence. That not everything that is good is excellent, but everything that is excellent is good. And what I mean by that is, I always say excellence in the absence of God can never be excellence. So God has to be that center. It has to be God outward. And yes, most of our athletes will eventually be called to pour their time and energy into something other than sport. But if we can train them, then when they do get called to whatever it is God has in store for the rest of their life, we've given them a way to do that and still love Jesus with their whole heart, soul, mind, and strength. Because what we're really training is the theology of work.
That's it.
And sport for most young men and women across the country in this day and age in America from affluent societies is their first job. And if we can train them well, then when they go through college and they get into the work world, they now are not just going to be an attorney. They're going to be a Christian attorney, and they're going to lead with that, or medicine or business or whatever it is that God calls them to. And that's the power of all this. And so if we don't do it, it's problematic. I mean, like you said, I mean, it's like, I always challenge the kids, and it's not to speak like, I don't know Tiger Woods personally. I just know what everybody else watched on the news. Right. And I pray for him, and I know the burden that is fame. Well, I don't actually, cause I'm not famous, but I know I can imagine the burden. I also often wonder, like, man, as good as he was, as great as he was, how great would he have been with a deep relationship with God?
That's right.
I mean, the sky's the limit. Like, and it doesn't always mean that you'll win, but it gives purpose to everything when you put God at the center. And so I know we've been at this. I feel like I could talk with you for hours, but I do want to ask you a couple questions as we close out. If you were giving advice, you don't necessarily have to involve the chaplaincy program, but you have a lot of experience in a theology of sport and a practitioner in these things. Give a little bit of advice to our athletes that might watch this a little bit and go, hey, I'm not necessarily at that school. I'm not at a school that's emphasizing this. What would your advice to an athlete be who's trying to pursue excellence and faith in sport? Where would you tell them to start, or maybe what's on your heart in that regard?
Yeah, I'll lean after the namesake of my school, St. Ignatius. St. Ignatius of Loyola argued third most important prayer is the one that I'll recommend. And so, like, the first one is Mass. Second one is the Our Father. But the third one, he argued, is this examination of conscience. That every day, what we should do either at the beginning of the day or at the end of the day is go through the day as if you're watching a film. After you start off with some gratitude, acknowledging God's presence, and then gratitude for a thing, you go through the day as if you're watching a film. And so here's what I would argue for athletes, and this is what we do with our lads. Go through the last practice, go through the last game as if you're watching a film. And we do this. We watch film. Our football team actually did this for a while. It was incredible. So go through it and see emotionally where you get charged up, either positively, negatively, somewhere in between. And then sit in that space for a little bit of time and ask the question, all right, God, what are you telling me about this right now? What is it that you want me to learn? What is it that you want me to know? How are you speaking to me through that play, through that experience, through that whatever it is? So as you're going through your experience of that sport, or in our case, sport of the performing arts, for that finite period of time. And then from there, you look forward to the next time that you're going to engage with that, and say, like, all right, Lord, I'm going to sit with that, and let that grow in my heart. Do with me what you will in there. So this examine of conscience, where you start, acknowledge God's presence, thank him for one thing, go through the sport itself, go through the day, and look at, all right, where am I moved? Sit with him there, asking this question, all right, what do you like? What do you want of me in this moment? And then look forward to the future with the lens colored by that one thing. That moment of reflection can take all of 5 minutes, 6 minutes.
Yeah, it's good.
But when we slow down now and there's a bunch of research on this. What's his name? I'm going to miss it. It's not David Brooks.
Arthur Brooks.
That's it.
Yep.
Arthur Brooks. And the research he's doing on happiness and enjoyment.
Amazing.
Right? That's what we're doing here now. Is you're taking the time. And Ignatius of Loyola knew this in the 1500s. And Christ knew this,
sure.
Right?
Sure.
2,000 years ago. So let's take the time to mull and to appreciate and to dive into that. So let's do that with our athletic experiences. so that it's not just I go from practice to the game, to the practice, to the game, to the film, to the practice, to the game, to training. Like, slow that whole thing down. Do this examine, if you can, I would argue, Ignatius argues, on a daily basis. It's going to be deeper. It's going to be more profound. It'll be richer. We'll be able to identify the graces that God is giving us in the trials, that God's given us in the victories. And now all of a sudden, our athletic experience, I would contend, becomes prayer. The whole of it. That's what we're shooting for. So that's what I would say for an athlete. Try and examine as you go.
All right. What about a coach? We're going to go coach and then parent. So get your brain spinning. But I mean, like, what about a coach who's passionate about this and they just want to get started?
Yeah.
They don't want to feel like they're drowning, but what do they do? What's a step in the right direction?
All right. Well, self-interested. Here's a plug. Come to our conference.
Absolutely.
Come up.
Tell us about the conference. When is it? Yeah.
So October 14th through 16th up in Cleveland. And like, we have some incredible people who are headlining it. So Father Nate Wells, he's the chaplain of Notre Dame's football team. He's the keynote speaker on that Wednesday night. And then two fellows that you might have met, Jay Carney and Max Engel, both of whom are professors at the University of Creighton, who do a bunch of research and have written an incredible book along with Matt Hoven on it's called On the Eighth Day. It's a Catholic Catholic perspective of sports. They're going to be speaking on the second day. Like, those guys, amazing. The way that they look at theology and athletics and pull them all together deeply and well. And then we have the head coach of John Carroll's football team and its athletic director, Brian Polian. He's going to be speaking on the third day. That being said, those are just the keynotes. We have a bunch of people who are doing this work at some of those high schools that I had mentioned, who are on panels or who are running discussions from across the country on that second day. So you could go to ignatius.edu and type in like North American Chaplaincy or Chaplaincy in the webpage for the conference will pull up. But we've got people from each one of our breakout sessions has got people from the South, from the East Coast, from the Midwest, and from the West Coast, so that it's not just, oh, this is what they're doing at this place. So people get a sense of what's happening around the country. So I would say for a coach like that, come, be present. That would help. That would help them see, maybe baptize that imagination.
You know what I hear when as you just pitch a conference, right?
Right.
No, and like, it's great. This is what I hear though, and it's so important for coaches to routinely hear this. Be coachable yourself.
Oh yeah.
You're never going to have it all figured out. And in fact, the moment you think you do, quit the business, because you're probably not good anymore, right? I mean, we have to be humble learners constantly. And I think that's sometimes where we fail. I mean, in our parent meetings that I lead a lot of times at the school, I'll jokingly but kind of seriously tell parents, hey, the most uncoachable people are in the room right now. It's everybody over the age of 25 that's before 60. Like, we all think we have it figured out. And I think we need to sit more in a spirit of continued learning. And that's my only beef. I won't get on one of my side tangents, but that's my beef with the current American educational process. Is it seems like there's a finality to it, and that's not scriptural. That's not what God desired. God desired us to be continuing learners, because we're on a journey, and we won't be done with that journey until we take our last breath.
Yeah. So, think of in terms of that Greek word metanoia, this perpetual conversion and turning toward him, right? Over and over again and again, the way that men and women are called to in their marriages, over and over again and again, to turn more deeply toward each other. You're spot on. I think I ran into that with myself as a teacher, like, oh, I got this. And I'm like, nope, no, you don't, bud. You need to go back to the drawing board and do some reworking. So truth be told, with that, then I would say for a coach, and maybe other folks have said this, but I would contend there are things that happen every single year for a coach. Kid's going to have a problem with playing time every single year. Kid's going to get injured every single year. Unless you are the state champs, and maybe even if you are, you're going to have a loss Every single year, that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
How do you plan on dealing with that? And how does the faith frame that?
Mm.
For you to think about that before it happens, so that not that you have something in the can, but rather you have a framework to be able to address and approach that when it comes up. Like I've been teaching for 23 years. If I just am going off the cuff when a kid is absent and says, "What did I miss?" Like I'm in trouble. Like what am I
Yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
If I am just going off the cuff when a kid or a parent says, like, Johnny's got a D minus, well, what can he do to get better? Like I should be ready and have some stuff there. So for a coach, all right, we've got cuts. We've got to do cuts every year. How do I frame that in a Christian way, in a Catholic way,
Mm-hmm.
to uphold the dignity of these kids? What does that look like? We're doing something with injured athletes that I'm proud of. Like injuries can destroy kids because their identity might be rooted in what they're able to do, and now they're no longer able to do it, or what other people say they are, and now you're no longer the starter. You're the kid on the bench, or you're bringing out water bottles, right? So we've gotten guys who have been injured in the past to record videos of what it was like to be injured, what they ended up doing, and then what they wish they would have done, and how their faith played a part in all of that. So now that when our guys go through big injuries, their chaplain talks to them, and we got prayer cards that the chaplain's going to give them and all that, and the chaplain will swing back to them and all. But also because our guys learn so much through their phones, the chaplain lets them know, hey, I'm going to send you this stuff. And now guys got these messages from like Nick Marjavicius, who's a grad from our school who played in the majors for the Padres in Seattle, who felt his arm give out when he was on the bump at Fenway. And him talking about how he went through that injury and how difficult it was to keep Christ at the center. And what that was like, but what happened when he did. It's not Liam Eichenberg, it's Tommy Eichenberg, who plays for the Raiders, talking about, and Tommy Eichenberg was a linebacker at Ohio State, now he plays for the Raiders. For him talking about his injuries and what he went through. Also guys who didn't make it to major college athletics, who were playing club in college, or who just finished their time playing sports at our high school. But for them to talk about, here's what I went through. Here's what I did. Here's what I wish I would have done. Here's how my faith played a part in it. Like that's another way to accompany our guys, right? To try to help them to process this in that light. And I use that as an example of a head coach or any coach, truth be told, should be aware of, like, how am I going to address these things that always happen? Kid wanting more playing time, upset parent, kid who's injured, lost at the end of the season. If that makes some sense, Tanner.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. Our last kind of viewership is sometimes our parents. I think our talk today was way more administrator coach driven, but that's okay. What about a parent? And I think this is such a tumultuous world of sport right now in American history, world history, if you would say. But I'm a parent and I'm trying to walk alongside my student athlete, my child, in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And I want to involve the faith in a deeper way. How would you coach that parent, or what do y'all potentially say to y'all's parents that you feel like resonates with them?
Thanks. And we're actually going to take a little bit of a page from Valor Christian on two aspects. We're going to make a prayer card for parents to pray during tryouts for them to use. And there's another component of, like, kids getting injured. Parents are really, really good at getting guys to the PT appointments. They're really good at setting up all that stuff. A place that can be difficult for them, or maybe they just don't necessarily see it, is like the faith aspect of this and the identity aspect of it. Unless a kid, in a number of the videos, guys say, like, this was something I just didn't feel like I could tell my mom or my dad about. So I would contend and this comes out of just parenting in this Catholic Christian mindset. They're loved because they are. They're not loved because of what they can do. They're not loved because of what other people say about them. That to reinforce over and over again to our kids, I love you because you are. Like, that's the love that the Father gives us. We don't
So
earn
good.
it, and we do nothing to merit it, right? And so to model that, now that can be really tough because we can see like the potential that our kids have, and we can see how they're struggling. And they want to do, and they want to have other people say things about them. But in a parent's prayer life, to perpetually articulate, to pray for the grace to convey to your child, I love you because you are. That's it.
Yeah.
And so, especially then when it becomes difficult, or even when it becomes great, like kid hits a home run, of course you're happy for the kid and you're proud for the kid, proud because they home run. You're proud because they are. So
Yeah.
I would say to make that part of your daily prayer.
That's so good. So good. Well, I got 2 questions left. One is easy, and one's going to be a little challenging that I did not know I was going to ask today. But the way I usually end is I'm curious, outside of the Bible, recommend us a book that you feel like is really touched you and helped you become the person that you are today. It doesn't even have to be in this space. Just something you would suggest reading that is powerful.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Wasn't prepared for that at all. And actually, it's one of my favorite questions for other people. Like, what are you reading now? Because man, what a way to get into folks' lives. I just read Becoming Superman by, I'm gonna mess it up. He's a writer, and he writes in Hollywood and all that. And his overarching narrative, and it's a tough one. It's not a tough one because he leans into gore or anything along those lines. It's his autobiography, and his life was rough. Neil, it was Joseph Michael. Either way,
I'll find it. I'll post it in the comments.
Yeah, it's incredible. His narrative is incredible, and what it is his life is immensely difficult, as you will find out. And he writes charmingly, brilliantly. It's got some rough language in it, so be cognizant of that. But his contention is, given his upbringing, he should be a cuss. Given his upbringing, he should be a horrible human being. He has every reason in the world and every argument you could make to be an egocentric, self-centered jerk. And his argument is we're all free. We make our choices. And he chose the exact opposite. He chose to be good. He chose to stand up for the truthful thing. He chose to stand up for decency, empathy, understanding, truth. Like it is incredible, incredible what his life is like. So that's the thing. I just finished it today. That's what's on my mind. But man, there's a ton of books.
Oh, sure. I mean, if you're a reader, you can go on for hours. I really asked the question selfishly because I've gotten so many good book recommendations as I've talked to people, and I'm like, gone back and read them. And it's like, man, I wasn't a reader growing up, and I don't really read fiction, but I love anything that will challenge me. And of course, anything I watch, anything I read, I always have the filter of faith and sport on, whether I like it or not.
Yeah.
And so, all right, last question. This one's going to be a tough one because you're in Cleveland, Ohio. So I got to know, who's the GOAT, Michael Jordan or LeBron James?
See, I'm from a given era though. And although I'm from Cleveland.
That means you're going to answer correctly.
So, although I'm from Cleveland, the GOAT it's Bill Russell. He is like he like, if you determine it, if you set the standard by championships won versus years played, then it's Bill Russell. And Bill Russell's job was to take out the best player on the other, like Will Chamberlain. Will Chamberlain doesn't have championships because of because of Bill Russell. The Boston Celtics rotate and they function and they flow because of Bill Russell. And Bill Russell is doing it, and I love Boston. But Bill Russell's doing it in a city at that time, which was deeply antithetical to his existence as a black man in that city. Like Russell, like if you read his autobiography, he claims and says like the Celtics treated him great. Red Auerbach treated him wonderfully, but the city of Boston, while they like the Celtics, him not so much. So I'm going to make the argument it's tough to beat Bill Russell. And so if you go across, like jump across eras and all that, if it's just rings, Bill's my guy.
Yeah. Well, hey, I was not expecting that answer. And so I love it. I mean, what a great answer to the question. So, Drew, I really appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in October, staying in touch with you and all the wisdom that you've brought us today. I think it's going to be valuable, especially to me and our campus, but hopefully if we can get this in the hands of other people, it's going to be valuable to them as well. And if there's a possibility, can I share your contact email, or how would you like to be contacted if people are interested in maybe learning more, if you're open to that?
Yeah. So primarily, or I should say first rather, thanks. This has been a blast. Time has really flown by. I really appreciate the invitation and including me in the good work that you're doing. And then secondarily, thanks for giving a mouthpiece to the conference and to our work. I view it as gift. This isn't something that just us, this private boys Catholic school in Cleveland is doing. This is gift to the church writ large. There's something beautiful and good here. So I hope to be able to share it. And third, anybody wants to contact me, be more than open to it. My email address will work. So Vilinsky, VILINSKY at ignatius.edu. That's the way to do it. That'd be great. Oh, I looked it up. It's J. Michael Straczynski, Becoming Superman. It's incredible. Again, it's not a G-rated thing. He's got some language in there, and rightfully so, given his life. But the power of like the individual will on display brilliantly there.
Well, Drew, we appreciate it. We'll be praying for your work, and thanks again for coming on. It's been awesome.
All right. Thanks a lot, Tanner. I appreciate it.
All right. God bless.
God bless.